Hi, Jason here. Today, I just want to kind of give you guys a little bit of background on the books that I like to read and things like that, just to kind of so that you guys are a little bit more familiar with the things that I like and what I intend to read in the future and kind of my tastes. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just a little bookshelf tour. I've got basically three bookshelves in the house. I've got one that's got books that I've read, and usually, that's where they go they've been read. And that one's alphabetized. And then I've got my Stephen King bookshelf, which is separate. All my Stephen King novels in the order that they were published, and I've read, about half of them. So, yeah. And then my last one is by TBR, so it's all the books that I own or whatever have collected over the years and years that I haven't read yet, but would like to. So anyway, let's start with the books that I have read, and that's this shelf right here, which you maybe have seen in other videos. So yeah, we'll just start at the top. Basically, top shelf is nonfiction. Or narrative nonfiction or fictionalized whatever. It's mostly nonfiction though. So we've got a couple of books there, some war books like Black Hawk Down. This book is really good. If you haven't read it, the movie was quite good, but the book really goes into a lot of the politics around what was going on in the world at the time. It's really interesting. Paperbacks from Hell, if you're into horror novels, especially like pulpy 80s type stuff, this is a really great reference book for that. Got some other war stuff, Christopher Hitchens. This book, Stephen King on writing. Oh my God, what a great book! If you're into writing, if you want to be a writer, you have to read this book. Devil in the White City is a book about brewing beer. The Revenant, great, with the old brew. That I read because after I watched the Pacific, which is a great show if you haven't seen it, but that's Eugene Sledge wrote that book. So yeah, that's kind of my nonfiction. Now going into fiction time, we've got Watership Down. We got The Handmaid's Tale, and I do have the Testaments, although I'm letting someone borrow it right now, so that's where that would be. I've got the first two volumes of Books of Blood. The Exorcist, great book. This Lawrence Block short story collection, which I just randomly kind of picked up at a like a thrift store for like $1. It's pretty good actually. Some of them were bleh, but you know how it goes. These here are my the Pendergast series. So these are the three that I've read. I've read Relic, Reliquary, and Cabinet of Curiosities. I have the fourth one. I'm gonna continue. There's like 18 books in the series, so it's kind of a lot. I'll eventually get to them, but those are fun. Those are fun little mysteries. This here is the Superpowered Revenge Christmas by Bill Corbett. My friend Virginia, that's her husband, and so she gave me that, and that's a fun little graphic novel about superpowered Christmas. It was fun. First novel in the Expanse series, which I really enjoyed, so I do intend to fill more of the shelf with that in the future. And then we got some Michael Crichton. I really like Michael Crichton. The Jurassic Park series, the books, oh my God. I loved the movie when I was a kid, and so then I read the books, loved the books, and they were quite a bit different too, so and so I do intend to read more Michael Crichton. I've got a bunch on my TBR, so you'll see that in a second. We got Blake Crouch, Dark Matter. Love this book, so good. Really fast-paced, awesome suspense thriller kind of book, but also really just like deep sort of themes about like if you could go back and change things about your life, would you, and is it worth it? Really cool. Recursion, that is another book by him that came out this year, and it was okay. It wasn't as good. Similar sort of stuff in there, though. House of Leaves, people in horror communities know this is a crazy book about a haunted house. And we got some Philip K. Dick, American Psycho. Awesome book. Yeah, really, really crazy. Much different than the movie, or at least more graphic. A lot more crazy, disgusting stuff happens in the book. And then we got Gillian Flynn, who I'm a huge fan of. I've read all of her novels: Sharp Objects, Dark Places, Gone Girl, and then this little short story or whatever, The Grown Up. I've been waiting for her to write another novel. It's been, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, I think, since Gone Girl came out. So I think we're due. I don't know if what she's planning or whatever, but I'm anxiously awaiting her next novel. Then here we go. We got Robert Galbraith, which is J.K. Rowling's pen name. The Cormoran Strike series is very good. Super awesome detective novels. If you haven't read them, you should. They're awesome, and I think she's intending to just continue to write those because they're really good. Every single one of them. We got Lord of the Flies, and then we've got our Thomas Harris section. So we got Black Sunday, which was his first novel, and then he wrote, the Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, and Hannibal. And then he wrote this, Hannibal Rising, which it's fine, I guess. It's part of the series or whatever, but you can skip that one. It's kind of it's whatever. And then his most recent novel, Kari Mora, I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. It was okay. The Devil of Nanking by Mo Hader. Awesome book. That's the only book of hers that I've read, but geez, it's a good one. And then we got Dune, right? So basically, best science fiction series that I'm aware of. It's amazing. I haven't read any of the Brian Herbert extended Dune universe stuff, but it's great. It's amazing. You should read it. At the very least, read the first one, because, oh my god, it's just so good. Then we got some James Herbert, the Rats trilogy. It's the only stuff of his that I've read, although I do have a couple more of his books on my TBR shelf. So, he's fun. It's very, just kind of gruesome, gross horror about creature horror. It's fun. Brave New World. And then we've got The Haunting of Hill House. We've got The Girl Next Door, which is a gross book. And then this is a fun one, Demon Seed by Dean Koontz. This is the original publication, which came out in 1978, I think. And then he rewrote this book and then released it again in 93 or 94. I have the rewrite edition on the TBR. I haven't read it yet, but it's good. I mean, it's the only Dean Koontz that I've actually read. So anyway, next shelf we got the Millennium Series. So the ones written by Stieg Larsson, the first three, Girl with Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, are awesome. Super, super good books. Highly recommend those. And then these other three that were written by this guy, David Langerkrantz, not as good. They're still okay. And I don't know. They're worth a read. But, yeah, kind of forgettable. Honestly, I couldn't probably even tell you what happens in any of them. But, yeah. The Giver. Just read this for the first time. And, yeah, I'm late to the party because holy crap, that was a great book. And I don't know about the sequels. I've heard that I've kind of had mixed review, like people saying some people like them, some people don't. So I don't know. We'll see if I ever get to them. And we got some Josh Malerman. Inspection was awesome. I really liked Bird Box too, although that was his first novel and it definitely shows. But Inspection, whoa, cool book. And I'm super excited for Mallory coming out this year. So yeah. Life of Pi, And then we've got our George R. R. Martin set. So all of the Game of Thrones, or A Song of Ice and Fire books, rather. And then A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which is a collection of like 3 little novellas. They are awesome. If you have not read this and you are a fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, you should read this like right now. It is so good. Yeah, really cool. And, maybe it'll scratch that itch while we're waiting for The Winds of Winter. Then we got, The World of Ice and Fire, which is just a lot of history shit. And then Fire and Blood, which is about the Targaryens. And then, just at the end of this little shelf here, we've got Hell House by Richard Matheson, which is the only Richard Matheson I've read, and it's crazy. Next shelf here, we got Robert McCammon. So I got Swan Song, awesome book, and then Ball. I read this, wanted to go back, read more of his stuff, so I just started at the beginning. And Ball is his first novel. I did do a review of that, so if you want to watch that, you can. We got some Cormac McCarthy. I haven't read a ton of his stuff, but I really enjoy it. He's really interesting. Yeah, he's just it's great. Super, super, super dark and bloody and gross, but his prose is amazing, and like he doesn't use punctuation in like normal ways. It's just he's great. So I want to read more of his stuff, and I've got more of his stuff on my TBR. Moby Dick, I read it just because I didn't enjoy it. It was long and kind of boring. But it was, now that I've read it, I kind of am glad that I did. But yeah, a lot of stuff about whales. We got 1984, greatest book. So relevant. It's scary, in fact. Dr. Zhivago, didn't enjoy that book that much. It was okay. This book, Homo Sapiens, highly recommend. Very funny. I don't read a lot of comedy, but yeah, this one was interesting. It's about drugs and stuff and advertising. Really just weird. And yeah, I don't know. Crazy book. The Leftovers. I read this because I liked the show. And, yeah, the book was not as good, which is an odd thing. Usually the book is better, but the show was great. So, anyway, Where the Red Fern Grows. Oh, God, childhood. Makes you cry. Anyway, here we are at my Harry Potter section. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I like Harry Potter a lot. I didn't read them growing up. I actually just read these books for the first time, in 2018. I was 30 years old when I was reading these books, and they are awesome. They're so good, and they really did, even as a 29 or 30-year-old reading them, they were awesome. So they are great books, but yeah, that's it. That's Harry Potter. So now we'll go down to the bottom shelf here. You got Jose Saramago. I got Blindness and then Seeing, which is the sequel. Didn't really like Seeing. I thought Blindness was amazing. Didn't really like Seeing. George Saunders, In Persuasion Nation. It's short stories and stuff. It was okay. The Kill Riff. That's a fun one. It's kind of just splatter punk, rock and roll, horror stuff. Yeah. Frankenstein. Classic, awesome book. Yeah, really good. Then we got The Ruins, which, was one of my favorite books that I read last year. It was really, gross, but very good. Then I got a little bit of Goosebumps collection here. These are the ones that I've read in the last, few years. I read a lot of these when I was a kid, and I kind of went back and I was rereading them because I was interested to see kind of if they still hold up. Mostly they don't. They're very juvenile. But they're fun, I guess. They're fun reads, and if you're a kid, if you're 10 years old, these are great. We got Dracula, awesome. Cows by Matthew Stocco. I did do a review of this book. I do not recommend it. It's gross. It's the most horrible, disturbing book that I've ever read. Don't read it. It's gross. The Hobbit. Awesome. Love that book. Lord of the Rings. Very good. Boring and long. And yeah, wordy. at times. But, of course, classic. Of course. Great books. Then I've got the, I don't even know, Southern Reach trilogy, I guess is what it's called. The first one's the only one that's really any good. The other ones I read because I was like, man, I want to know more. And they didn't really do anything for me. So I kind of, it's whatever. Then I got Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5. Great book. The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Can't wait for the next one to come out. I think it's supposed to come out in July. Yeah, great book. And then We by Yevgeny Zamyatin, whatever. Cool dystopian, inspired actually 1984 and Brave New World, because this was written like in like the 30s or something, or 20s. It was like fucking way long ago. So yeah, that's the red shelf. And so now we'll go to the Stephen King shelf here, which is right over here. The book that's missing right now is Needful Things, because I'm reading it right now. But I do own it. It's just it's on my nightstand. So anyway, let's start at the top, I guess. Ooh, that's a cookbook. We've got basically a bunch of these are basically like the novels that I have two of, or like this one, Blockade Billy, kind of a weird one. It's also published in one of the short story collections, but I found this at like a Goodwill, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna totally get that. But yeah, then I got The Dark Man, which is just like a little weird little poem, and then Charlie the Choo Choo, which is awesome, and then the Creepshow like comic book is cool. And then basically these are in publication order, and I don't actually have enough room on the shelf, so I had to start putting a couple of them up here. So we've got Carrie, then Salem's Lot, then The Shining, and then it goes on to the other ones basically in order. And I'm not going to go through every single one, but if you want to just like look, I do own all the novels, and the ones that are turned down like this are books that I have not read yet. So basically, I'm reading them in publication order, and I don't want to know what's coming, even though I kind of do, because I'm obsessed. But yeah, so, and then you can see too what books I've read are the ones that are turned up. So The Wizard in Glass, this is a really cool edition, illustrated, and then this one, I love this. I love this edition of Wolves of the Kala. It's got really cool illustrations in it. If I can find a page that's got it, yeah, like cool little like. And then, yeah, like I said, I've got them all, so they're all in there. And like I said, I just turned them all down because I didn't want to see what's next when I was doing my reading. And then, I did do some fast forwarding. I don't read them in order exactly. So yeah, that's my Stephen King shelf. And I will continue to update you guys on the progress that I'm making towards reading all of his books. He does have another novel, or I think it's a novella collection coming out that is like 4 novellas or whatever in May, and so I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna read that. But now let's go upstairs. This is the to be read section, and like I said, it's a little disorganized because it's full, and I just have to like put stuff anywhere. But here it is. So yeah, let's just I'm going to pull that off. We can look. Whole bunch of random crap. This is like nonfiction that I've got that I want to read. Well, I don't read very much nonfiction. So, then we got a whole bunch of kind of horror novels. Neuromancer, it's been on my list for a while. And then Gardens of the Moon, I've wanted to start reading Malazan just because I've got a friend who's like obsessed with it, and so yeah, eventually I'll get there. There's a lot of on this shelf. You'll see there's a lot of like first like the first book in a series or whatever. A lot of those. So yeah, and then let's go down to the next shelf here. We've got a bunch of Asimov stuff, which I'd like to read eventually. We got the second book in The Expanse. Like I said, I was going to continue reading those. A bunch of Michael Crichton. A whole bunch of Michael Crichton. We've got some Carl Sagan. We've got some more Philip K. Dick. And then this bottom shelf. Let's see. We got Robert Heinlein. Haven't read any of his stuff, but I would like to. I've heard Stranger in a Strange Land is great. And then we got some more James Herbert. Les Mis, I doubt I'll ever read that. More Cormac McCarthy. We got this book Night Film, which I've heard is awesome and super scary. We got some Dan Simmons. The Terror, I've heard is great. War and Peace, again, probably never get to it, and then we got a couple Kurt Vonnegut books. And then, yeah, so I've got my Robert McCammon sort of stack here, which it's not all of them, but it's a lot of them, and then I will get to that eventually. I've got some Dean Koontz there, so I will eventually read those. And then I've got Brian Lumley, the Necroscope novels. I don't have all of them, but I've got the first couple, so I think I'm going to start that series at some point. And I've got First Law, which I want to read. Sooner. It's certainly on the list. I've got more of these Pendergast novels, and then there's another one, Cold Vengeance. So a couple of those I want to get to. And then we've got, like I said, I've got the first book in the 5th season, or whatever that one's called, Broken Earth. I've got the first book in Lightbringer. I've got the first book in the Dresden Files. I've got a couple more. Volume 3 and Volume 6 of the Books of Blood. I've got the first book in the Stormline Archives, The Way of Kings. I've got the first book in the Gentlemen Bastards. I've got this book that just came out that's supposed to be awesome, Kings of the Wild. It's the first book in the band. It's the only one that's out right now. So I've got this Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Supposed to be pretty good, and I know she's planning more in that series. I've got the first book in the Poppy War. So yeah, like I said, it's a lot of just first books. And then, and The Wheel of Time. The Eye of the World. So this is the first book in the Wheel of Time, which has been on my list for a long time. It's huge, though. It's like 15 books, so it's probably, it's going to take me forever. And then in addition to that, I've got The Troop by Nick Cutter, which I want to read. I've got I Am Legend. I've got The Hunger. And then I've got some just like weird paperbacks that I found kind of randomly. This is an Avon paperback from like the 80s, The Lake, short little book. I picked that up just for a couple dollars at a bookstore. It's in good condition, but I don't actually know if I'll ever read it, but it's kind of fun to have. And then this one, The Sendai, same deal. It's just like an old 80s paperback that's, kind of just pulpy trash, but I kind of like those books sometimes. So yeah, anyway, that's basically it. Those are just to give you an idea of kind of what I like to read and what I plan on reading over the next couple of months, years, whatever. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and leave suggestions in the comments. I'm always looking for more stuff to read. I can always add to my to be read shelf. So yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.